Defensive lineman had suffered an injury at practice during the week and wouldn't be participating. Now there's some reports he's going to be out for a while. No word on the official injury. And then Ajay Hall, of course, arrested, Thursday night. We talked a lot about the boot incident and the UT parking issue and whatnot. And then those are the first stories into the weekend. And then the scrimmage itself happens on Saturday. And the obvious report's not good for Isaiah Nayer, the much talked about Wyoming transfer who had come in, had a great offseason, great summer, and was working his way into the high rotation at the wide receiver position. Junior Angalau, fifth-year player on that offensive line, and Roschon Johnson all go down with injuries, which is what you're hoping to avoid more than anything else.
Absolutely.
In this training camp is to stay as healthy as possible.
I worked for two coaches in college football, actually three coaches, and I know one of the last one I worked for, John Makovic. If two guys get hurt in a scrimmage, guess what we do?
What's that?
Done. It's over. Back to individual drills, and let's go assess what just happened here.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never been in one where we got to a third. If we're scrimmaging, that thing stops. He just goes, "That's it. Blow the whistle. Let's go. You can go do some individual drills for about 20 minutes, and then let's go assess what just happened. But we're not scrimmaging any longer." And those things happen. A guy could get hurt in an individual drill, going for a ball. These non-contact things happen to guys, but damn, when do you stop?
Yeah, I mean, you've got
I don't know when they happen, so it's hard for me to say if two happened early, one happened in the middle, one happened late, that they happen, bang, bang, bang. I mean, it's just you got to practice and you got to scrimmage, but after two, I'm done. I blow the whistle. I call it I'm Dunsville.
Yeah, Nayer, of course, the transfer from Wyoming, was coming in, a big receiver who had, really opened some eyes, and let's hope for the best. I mean, obviously, the report is an ACL tear. He's going to have a second opinion. We'll keep you posted.
You know
on
how
that.
those things go, though.
But that on top of the Ajay Hall suspension, and who knows how long that's going to be. It was, Steve Sarkisian issued the statement on Friday.
Whittington becomes very, very valuable.
Well,
he always was.
And the Tariq Milton, transfer from Iowa State, which kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people late in the portal process, steps up big too, and that's really, really unfortunate. And Junior Angalau, where we've talked a lot about the young offensive lineman, the freshman class, but he was one of the anchors of the returning players.
Somebody's getting thrown into the fire quickly.
It was thought that he was working at some center as well, trying to cross-train him, guard, center, one of those interior spots. And, again, as far as when they happen within it, we don't know. The Isaiah Nayer injury reportedly was later in the practice. He caught a seam route from Hudson Card and, landed awkwardly, and that was it for that one. He limped off the field. The initial reports on Saturday were that it was Rojo who left on a cart, like they had to cart him off with the ankle injury, and that Angalau and Isaiah Nayer limped their way off the field, which there was some optimism to it that it was just a minor deal. Instead, both look pretty significant, and we will certainly cover.
If Rojon's just an ankle, he'll be limped up a little bit, but that should be okay. It's one of those crazy high ankle sprains. Other than that, the other two guys don't seem like they're going to be around anytime soon. But that's a part of football.
That's a part of football. Somebody said, Troy O'Meary, come on down. Yeah, I mean, the depth at that wide receiver position will be threatened. Obviously, Steve Sarkisian, I don't know what his plan is with Ajay Hall, the youngster who transferred from Alabama. Is this a second opportunity for him to find his way? Because, again, when I say Isaiah Nayer was working his way, Isaiah Nayer was really in the starting lineup. I mean, he was right next to Xavier Worthy, your top receiver. He was the likely to be the starting X receiver with Jordan Whittington in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get where we are, not even into the quarterback battle, because there are multiple conflicting reports on how the quarterbacks played, and Quinn Ewers had some flashes, but also had a turnover, at least one, and Hudson Card trying to find his way. So again, it's the first training camp scrimmage, which you're only 9 days into camp. You wouldn't expect to be completely polished and sharp and ready to roll. That's kind of how you work your way into the season.
I would think the defense would have looked better.
Yeah, but what you were hopeful is what you're always hopeful for any team.
Nobody gets hurt.
Is to stay healthy, relatively healthy, and obviously that didn't happen. If there are reports that Alfred Collins, the young defensive lineman, could be out for a month or longer with an injury that's undisclosed. We did not hear from Steve Sarkisian after the scrimmage. He did not have an availability. We're assuming there'll be one this week with more information, but obviously the information not optimistic as far as those three or four players.
That stinks right there. And the passing away of Steve Worcester, I mean, that was one of the guys that, that I had followed throughout, being involved in college football, was that guy when he was a player at Wishbone. I mean, that guy was a tough mother now.
Well, I mean, Texas football and the history of Texas football has had some incredible runs, but we know you could compare, for modern Texas football and this generation's Texas football, Vince Young and that recruiting class in the early 2000s set the table for the unbelievable run that, back-to-back Rose Bowls, a national championship, and all the success that we saw Vince. You can put Steve Worcester into that conversation in 1967 when he was one of the more highly recruited players in the country out of Bay City, or make sure I get this down, Bridge City High School down there in southeast Texas, and 3 times a state champion. And, that was back when the running game, right? He wanted to be a running backs coach.
Well, that's when Texas came into my mind, when that Wishbone was going.
Yeah. How about this? Steve Worcester, who passed away over the weekend, accepted a scholarship offer to UT over the 75-plus other college suitors who coveted his skills, it says here. And so he came in, and it was an unbelievable recruiting class in 1967, dubbed the Worcester Bunch, and they went on to win back-to-back national championships, 3 times the Cotton Bowl, and put him at the fullback position in that Wishbone offense.
That dude could get in the A-gap now.
Could get in the A-gap, and power could run away from people on the once he got through, and then also a vicious blocker, helping the Wishbone to revolutionize college football. And sad news there. So not a great weekend as far as you come in on a Monday. Looking forward to some good news, and I don't know if there is any as far as Texas football goes. That's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Sad news from Steve Worcester, and then again, gosh, one injury. If you're coming to talk about one of these injuries, you'd be kind of bummed out.
Absolutely.
To have 3 and potentially 4 with the status of Alfred Collins, who didn't participate in the scrimmage by reports.
Now, that happened at a practice, right?
Yes. That happened reportedly, like on Thursday, in the real physical practice they had there. But
like I said, it's football.
It's football.
Those things happen.
But, man, that seems like that's bad luck.
But as I said, I've been around coaches that said, that's it. Well, 2, see ya.
Well, you'll get
this scrimmage is officially over with.
It's one of those where you feel like, man, holy cow, really? 3? 3, now 4 key injuries. I mean, those are starting players. I mean, Roschon Johnson isn't a starter.
Maybe that should have been in your mind anyways, right? That should have been in your mind the one the day before.
Oh, absolutely.
That counts as one right there, right?
Every scrimmage. Every practice.
Yeah. Well, we've never stopped the practice for guys who got hurt in individual stuff. But I've been in scrimmages where the scrimmage just said, just go do some individual. We'll be in. We got to assess what just happened, how it happened, when it happened. But part of it is just the game. Those things happen in the game.
That's right. And next man up has got to be the philosophy and the mindset. You
don't have a choice.
You don't, and that's where best laid plans. You come in with a plan, and now you have to alter that, and you guys have to step in and step up. Season will still be here in
young wide receivers
3
will have to jump in there. And if Troy O'Meary is, if you've been waiting around to hear his name, well, here's his opportunity right here. If he's healthy and ready to go, because if he wasn't healthy, he wouldn't be out there, right? They won't
he's
do that.
He's out there, right? I mean, he's by all accounts fully recovered. He of course has lost the better part of 2 full seasons to knee injuries.
Should be fresh and ready.
Should be ready to go, fresh legs, and that's really what it's about. And that's really got to be the mindset for Steve Sarkisian. It's going to happen, and unfortunately, you plow through, and you feel terrible for the student athletes, young players. Junior Angelau, a 5th-year player who was looking to anchor the interior of that offensive line. Isaiah Nair, who was a Texas native who had transferred in from Wyoming.
Such high hopes for him. That stinks.
Yeah.
Such high hopes for all those guys. Those are key cogs in what you're trying to do.
Right. I mean, and Roschon Johnson, not a starter, but would be a starter on a lot of teams, and he is one of he's your leader of your football team. Backing up Bijan Robinson at running back. So we'll try to get the reports on what went well for the Longhorns during the scrimmage.
And what sucks for him if those high ankle sprains, that stuff lasts.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, you'd be limping around all damn football season.
Yeah, I haven't seen the report over there. It's high
it's just
low.
an ankle sprain. That's it.
Yeah, in a boot.
Yes.
And he indicated that the people at the scrimmage he'll be back. And but it might
Good.
be those ankles. It might be a month.
Yes.
Which we're inside 3 weeks to the start of the season now. First game was 3 weeks from Saturday, so
Living
19
in the tub.
days.
Got to live in the tub now.
Live in the tub. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was an ugly weekend for the Longhorns.
I got to see some of that Cowboys game, and that was ugly. They are terrible at penalties. They're second team, third team. Anybody that puts on a Cowboys uniform, just get ready to get a flag. They are bad. They have some of the dumbest penalties, too.
Well, that was disappointing. I mean, you have to say when you talk Cowboys that 18 of their projected starters did not play. So, I mean, you got 22 starters on a football team. 18 of them were standing on the sidelines next to Mike McCarthy. But at the same time, one of the key off-season goals was to become a more disciplined.
Oh, my goodness.
They were the most penalized team in the NFL by a lot last year. We remember in the final game of the season, the San Francisco 49ers playoff game, they committed 14 penalties, and they were critical and helped lose that football game. On Saturday night in their first try, they had 17 penalties. 17 penalties against the Denver Broncos, and there were 4 in the first quarter. I mean, there was a penalty on your cornerback, the second-year player out of Kentucky.
I do like him, though.
He jumped off sides on a field goal, and it was a 57-yard field goal. It moved it up 5 yards. They made the field
defensive
goal.
end who's Fowler, who jumped off sides on a snap count. I'm like, come on, man.
That's the stuff, right? And this is why people will be looking at Mike McCarthy. He's the two things that they've preached all offseason is discipline and physicality. Discipline and physicality. Well, in the first week, in the practices against the Broncos, and then on the game against the Broncos, they were out physicaled by the Broncos and they were not disciplined. So again, it's one game. Most of your key guys, or almost all of your key guys, did not play in that football game.
And it looks like they won't either. It looks like that's the route they're going.
And that's okay. I mean,
sure.
The Longhorns just lost 3 starters.
Absolutely, we're talking about
in
that
a scrimmage.
That's right.
They can happen. That's the whole thing. That's why it's really unfortunate for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns because they had 2 really physical days of one-on-one practice with the Broncos. I mean, those kind of injuries can happen in any of those scenarios.
That's right.
And, that's why coaches err on the side of caution when it comes to getting those guys on the field in a game that doesn't mean anything. Same time, you have to get ready for the season. I mean, you have to prepare for the year. We were talking last week. We saw the first week's episode of Hard Knocks on HBO, right, with Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. And we come in here talking about, man, that is as physical a first couple days of practice you're going to see. Dan Campbell's going in with the mindset, you got to go. We got to get ready for this season. We're going to be physical, but again, the Longhorns getting physical and suffered 3 significant injuries. As you said, you'll tap the brakes a little bit, but at the same time, you still have to get ready for the season. And week 2, you're playing Alabama. So you better strap it up and be ready to go. It's just one of those, part of the deal. Part of the deal,
Zay, right? That stuff happens?
Yeah, unfortunately. But you don't see many people throughout the nation with 3 key injuries like us.
Yeah.
I know that.
No, because a lot of people say, that's it. We're done after 2. Or as you said, after Alfred Collins the day before, then the next day you're going to say after 1, we're going to slow this down. We're going to go to some individual.
Oh, yeah, you're real cautious.
Yeah.
Well,
but some of those guys, there were a couple guys. Junior Algo, that guy was trying to play center. They were at a different position, so
they were
you had to get guys cross-trained. You got to get them in there and playing.
Well, and so, as far as, they're out, who's next man up?
That's true.
Interior, Hayden Connor is likely to be one of your starting interior players. Jake Major's a 2-year starter at center. We heard Steve Sarkisian last week say that these young freshmen, sometimes the best way to get them on the field early is on the interior. So a guy like Devon Campbell, who they call DJ Campbell, the freshman out of Arlington, Kelvin Banks, who was taking first-team snaps at left tackle, along with Andre Carrick. Those guys have to fast track, I think is fair to say. But with Junior Angelau, you're talking about one of your veteran leaders. And that's, not to beat on it, but at the same time, Isaiah Nair had worked his way into a starting role, and then
he was going to be big for this. He's a big player. He's a big physical target.
He was your perfect X, right?
Yeah.
You've got Xavier Worthy, who is Xavier. He's the X-Man, but he's your big play threat and your best receiver.
And you're going to need somebody to take pressure off of him because they'll double him up.
And Whittington's your slot, and then this was your bigger receiver who caught 12 touchdowns last year at Wyoming. the ability to create red zone opportunities and high point the football, all those things that you were excited about. And
Yeah, absolutely.
now you have to
Somebody moves up in a hurry.